visible, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, so today we'll be covering Apex design patterns for scalable and maintainable Salesforce solutions. So before we go forward with this is already Sunny has given a brief intro, and this is a little more info. So I'm a Salesforce architect, as already Sunny mentioned. So I'm XPWC, IBM, and many other organizations. I'm 19X certified. I'm also mentor at TopMate. I'm a community speaker. I am speaking with Gorakhpur developer group of Gorakhpur, as well as for marketing group Gurgaon as well. I have taken multiple sessions. I have my YouTube channel as well by the name Mock Interviews with Ankit Jain. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can scan this code. I will just take a pause of 5 seconds here. And then this is my YouTube channel. So there are many sessions that I have taken in related to architecture stuff, as well as there are some mock interviews as well. So I had taken a session related to architect interview questions as well, I think last week. So that is also available. So there are multiple other sessions as well. So there are various playlists, so you can watch. And for this session, feel free to share the details around the event and how you feel about this event on Twitter. Like you can tag Sunny, you can tag the Gorakhpur developer group and myself as well on the Twitter or LinkedIn or Twitter. And these are the hashtags you can use. So please make a note of this. And this could help your friends as well to attend any future sessions. And what is the agenda for today? So today we'll be talking about what are design patterns, why they matter, different types. We'll be covering 5 design patterns today: factory, singleton, facade, strategy, and decorator. And there would be a Q&A. Okay, let's get started with. This is my first. I like writing normal code will not help you. Where to for write the code with best practices. And what exactly is design pattern? See, design patterns are actually, it's like people over the years, the software industry is not just new, like which started. It is coming over from long time. So there were people like who built the softwares. They realized like there are some common problems which the developers face. So they did some trial and error, and then what they figured out is like there are a fixed set of patterns. If we follow, like it becomes much more easy for the developers to scale and make the changes. So those patterns, actually we call it as design patterns. Okay, now kya karu मैं iska? Because it means we need to know like what does it matter, how does it impact me, why should I learn it? If I'm learning something, I should know what advantage, what it has for me, how it help me improve my life. So first of all, reusability. Like if I follow the design patterns, like my code, I am able to reuse it multiple places. Like taking into example, like suppose I have written a code for say creating account record. Okay, now wherever in my multiple test classes, if I want to reuse this code, I wrote this code only once in the test data factory, and then I'm reusing that in multiple different test classes. Now if suppose anything changes, I should be able to make a change very quickly, because there's only one single point source where I would need to make the changes. So this helped me improve the maintainability, as well as I was able to reuse the logic. Testability, like see it, there are two concepts: coupling and cohesion. Is anyone aware of this already, or shall I explain? Can someone acknowledge, or yeah, let me just explain. Coupling means how much is a component tied to another, and cohesion is around like how much is the logic intact in that particular module. So what testability design through design patterns, what we do is like we make the coupling loose. Loose means it's not dependent upon other person. It's like suppose I'm taking care of my house. Okay, if suppose everything is under my control, then it's very cohesive. Like suppose now what I do is like I hire an agency to take care of my home. Now like my it would be between the agency and the actual staff there would be tight coupling and cohesion, but for me and the agency it will be loose coupling, because I'm like only dependent upon the agency. I'm not dependent upon the actual staff, because if I try to manage multiple staff then it would become very difficult for me. Same way like what we do is like we through design patterns we promote loose coupling and it improves the testability. So through testability what I mean is like if the application is tested then there will be less risk associated. So how Baburao says bilkul risk nahi lene ka. So that is true. Like during the development, like we should not be leaving much room for bugs, so we need to take care of all them. We have to take utmost care that we don't end up or compromise on the testing. Next is maintainability. As I mentioned earlier, like see, a product should be maintainable in the sense like if I'm able to I'm asked to make a changes, then I should be able to make it very easily. Consistency. See, some of the design patterns, or if you even notice like naming convention wise, or you if you notice our this thing through the solid, it means this concept of design patterns is very much related to the solid principles as well. So through solid principles we even help to make the consistency around the naming. So that way like that is another reason. Like suppose you don't want like in one place you write account service, in other place you write account utility or contact utility, like that. Now I take a small pause. Like everything is clear so far? Can someone acknowledge please? Is the speed fine or okay? Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so let's continue. Now, like, see, design patterns are categorized into three parts. First is creation. Creation, as the name suggests, it's around the creation part. So, what we want is like creation wise, there should be abstraction. Like, it's not directly every time I'm creating through new, or there's like, I want it to be dynamic. Like, see, whatever happens, it should be flexible enough. So there are few patterns around, like which you call it as singleton, like singleton, only one instance. Factory pattern, logic is abstracted. Abstract factory pattern is, and factory pattern is very closely linked. Builder pattern, like I want to build the instance without the getter setter. Prototype, like I don't create anything, I just create the skeleton. We'll go over the details around these, like few of those. Next is structural. Structural is like how I want to make it more flexible. Like I don't want to make it chaotic. I want it to be the code and classes to be simplified. Behavior is like how it interacts, the object interacts, like how do like multiple classes are there and how do we manage those, or how we make sure like it's much more easy to manage. So we'll go over each of it. This is slide like this picture is taken from refactoring.guru, which talks about like the high level in the creational what are the different ones. Structural, these many they have already listed. This is just for giving you a brief idea, like these are many design patterns are available, and out of this we will be covering very limited ones in the interest of time. Now we'll go over, means these three only we'll be covering for creational. builder and Singleton. Now, what is factory? Factory actually, we don't want the logic to be exposed directly. Like we don't want the user to create the instance by themselves. Why? Now the question would come in: what is the problem? See, what happens is like few of the places it might happen like the client would end up creating too many instances. Like this being a cloud environment, like it can consume too many resources, like heap size. So we want like that logic to be abstracted, and we give the method to the user, like this is the method you use, and then it returns the instance. So are we clear on this one? Because this is a little complex. You can raise a hand or somewhere notify me so I'm aware of.
No, I'm not clear. I think example would be beneficial.
Examples are there in. No, don't worry on the examples. Like there are multiple examples. Like what is the native example that Salesforce is doing in, and what custom example also is there in. So like why we use it. I want to abstract the logic. I want to scale. I want the things to be open for extension and closed for modification. It's all a part of your solid principles only. And suppose if you want to go in details around the solid principles, there's a video I already recorded on my YouTube channel, so you can watch that as well. We have gone into very depth of the solid principles in that. And talking about the examples, like taking a very simple example, we all have used JSON.serialize and any time in our career. See, what exactly we are doing in is like we are creating instance of account by just invoking this method. Now, how does Salesforce actually convert the string to one is not visible to us, or we don't know. Natively, Salesforce is abstracting that logic and giving us that instance. You imagine it. Did you write the word like account ACC equal to new account? No. You just gave a string and to decentralize now decentralize has to handle that logic like how do I convert this string to the account to convert it to which class that you have told him like yes this is the account dot class means the account object I need to do the create the instance of this class and move the convert this or do the typecasting of this json string into the account class. So this is the native example and other is type dot for name. Many few very few people like mostly people who have worked on managed packages would be available would be knowing this method because it uses reflection as well as factory pattern. Type dot for name actually is the reflection where at runtime we the Salesforce is getting like what is the name of the class and through new instance method it is creating the instance of that object. Am I making some sense or the methods are new to you?
No, it's clear.
Now taking into custom example, like suppose the use case is like I want to send notification. Like see, it might happen like user sent asked us to send the notification. So notifications could be multiple, like it could be push notification, it could be email notification, it could be an SMS notification. So what I know for now is like what it should do, it should send the message. What is the input, like that is very much clear for me. Like I need to send the user a particular message to message. So I created interface just with that logic. Now, like for email notification, I would be overriding that and sending that email message. And for SMS, I would need to have a separate method. Now, like that logic, like see for email, it might happen like through for email, I would be using SendGrid or some other or Marketo or some other tools as well I would can be utilizing. So that logic would be happening only in this email notification class. Similarly for SMS notification, I know like that I need to send the message. It might happen like I might use Twilio or there are some 360-degree cloud also has SMS magic which I could be utilizing. So with that logic, through which mechanism I would be doing this thing like email sending or SMS notification, that is abstracted. What I would be just telling the user is like, this is the in my notification factory, I would be just asking the user like what type of notification is needed, and accordingly I would insert, I would be creating instance of that class. And in my main method, I would be just calling it notification and passing it email. Now it would dynamically check like through this method no get notification. What it would do is would go here to check like it should create an instance of email notification. Now this method's send method would get called. This is pure oops concept. Is that clear? Please raise a hand if in case the things are not clear or you feel like it is going a bit fast. Okay. Sunij, like, I mean, see, like, Shivam, Sunij, now the things are clear, or still more explanation I need to go? Are we good, or it's clear? Yeah, Aditi, for you it's clear, but Sunij and yeah, Dheeraj also said no. It's like for Shivam and Sunij, I saw. That's why asking this question, because can you just respond in here, Sunij, so that I know, like, yeah, okay, it's clear. Now the question arises, when do I use factory? Okay, I've understood what is a factory. So when is actually factory utilizing, means what is the best case? So suppose like I have multiple implementation of the same interface. Like for us, like I knew that I had to send a notification, but there could be multiple implementations of the same interface. Like it could be like through the email, through SMS, through in-app notification. Then factory pattern is useful. If at runtime I need to know like which class to instantiate, that is useful. Or I have to use metadata. Like instead of this logic, like what we have in here, I can also use a metadata, like where I could mention like what the user would be passing in, and I could mention in like which class to call, and then I can use the reflection pattern to at runtime load which class to instantiate. So in such scenarios as well, factory pattern helps. If you have only one implementation, like you have like you can have only one way of suppose my logic is very specific, like I want to send only email, only SMS notification, then I know like only SMS is there, and for that creating factory won't add value in most scenarios, although like we will have multiple notifications, but it can happen like where the company would want only SMS notifications to or WhatsApp to be supported in. So if there's only one implementation, then don't go with factory. Use your normal logic only. It would become a overkill. For a scenario for multiple notifications, it makes sense. Next is builder. Builder actually, see, in a regular way, like how we write the class, what's the problem? We pass multiple parameters. And suppose any new thing comes up, again, I need to make the changes. So what we do is like we recommend like you create a simple build method, and then whatever things you need, you create a separate method for that. With this is the example. I will just okay, sorry, I like this one. This is our account builder. We have created a single instance. Then what we have done is like for each attribute, like with phone, with industry, I have instantiated that. And then in the build method, I'm returning that account instance. So here, like, if suppose I had created a normal constructor, then I would have to pass 5 parameters. Sorry, 4 parameters. Then again, I need to figure out like if the code is too much big, then which is the what is the sequence? First is comes the name or it is the industry. I would remain confused. But with this one, I'm crystal clear. Like yes, it is saying with name, so I need to pass the name. If it is with phone, I need to pass the phone. Like this. So now the thing comes in why we use it. Like obviously readability, as I mentioned, and reuse ability also increases. Like suppose I have to use name, like I'm passing only name. So if suppose I had written it like for 5 parameters, then I should have all the parameters in order to use that. Or I would have to mention null, 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 which becomes not a good practice. So if suppose even I have to default a value, then also it would be very easy for me. So we should use that. And now like standard native example, like look at this. You would have utilized in your code as well, I guess, sometime at some point. See, it is creating a generic instance here. Now through the put method, each attribute whatever I want, I'm just setting that up. So this way at runtime means if now this code is very generic. If whatever thing I want, like if suppose I want to use add subject, I want to write origin, I want to add description, anything I can add. I don't have to remember what is the sequence. Make sense? Please be vocal around like if you're not following, because this is a topic is a little bit critical. So please raise hands in case the things are not clear, otherwise I would not know like whether to move forward or wait. Now we go to the next one, Singleton. This everybody should know. Singleton, as the name suggests, totally it would be single instance that should be created in, and where it is used mostly like when we want to share the resource through multiple classes, like a utility method or configuration. Like especially like for me, like in my implementations I have come across, the best use case has come for the trigger, like bypassing the logic. So I have used that example so that people would be able to relate it very much. So, have anybody means all of you are familiar with trigger framework?
Yes.
So in that, like most of the trigger frameworks already have this bypass functionality. So there, if you look at their actual class, they have also created the get instance, and they don't want to reinitialize. They want to use the same instance. Why? Because the moment if we initialize it again, the values would be reset. So like we make sure like only one instance is created in. So if it is null, then we initialize it, otherwise we return the same instance. So and why we use it, obviously I avoid the DML and SOQL limits. It's shared across multiple states, and obviously like maintaining the state. In many scenarios in the code also you could have seen like many times suppose a user record is being queried and the top it's marked as static, and then we have the logic method written like if it is null then create a new one, otherwise use whatever we have initialized at the top, and then we make the updates on that same user or we use that same instance. So it helps you maintain and reuse that logic, and it's optimized because instead of repetitive computation you are getting that value directly. So that way it's useful. Like this is very much common, not at all rocket science. It's very simple to use. Simple, create the constructor as private. Then what you do, you create an method here like get instance. You make it as null, and if it is null, instantiate it, otherwise return that instance. Simple. Constructor should be private. Now you all like mention in the comments like why the constructor should be private. Let's see. Let's make the session a little bit interactive. Why I should be having the in Singleton the constructor should be private. Someone on the call also wants to raise a hand and speak up. That's also fine. Yeah, few people like I heard like they are architects or something. So now speak up. See the makings like I want to make us this session interactive. So that's why like asking you to speak up. Otherwise, I can obviously speak up, but you will lose the joy in speaking, and you would also get confident while speaking within the community or answering the questions. Okay, let me only up like why we do this is suppose if I make the constructor as like public only, then the user can anyways like as he pleases he can write the new instantiated by itself, and he why would he use my method get instance if suppose he can create an instance himself, he or she. So that's why we should have the constructor as private always for singleton. Okay, it's clear, I guess. Now the next one is structural. It's facade and decorator. So these two we'll be covering in. Facade is actually it simplifies the complex things. So here like this meme I took it. So for complex like there are various things that on the left side it's therein. Right side it's like simplified everything. So that is the intent. Like facade actually it gives mean undernight complexities it removes. Like I give you the method, use that as it is. So here like the same example of us like similar to what we choose earlier, like we just call this method bypass in the code. Now we don't care about how it's internally handled. Underneath there would be a registry that they would be maintaining in like which handle classes they need to bypass, which they want to execute means which they want to skip, which ones should let go, something like that. But for us like the complex simple thing is I will just call bypass and it would take care of the things. Okay, so what's happening behind the scenes? Behind the scenes it's instantiating, it's adding what are the classes, and then it would see like whether the class it's there in this list or not, something like that. So now why we use facade, like obviously like I want to avoid the complexity. Let see, everyone loves simplicity. So if I give them like multiple, like if suppose they have to write every logic around like for doing each of this, it will become difficult. Instead I give them a simple utility, let them use it. Suppose and that also would help you like make a centralized control if I have to use this logic multiple places. And underneath if sometimes it happens like whatever internal implementation that you do, like suppose initially you're thinking like to bypass allow the bypass, later at juncture you would want like this bypassing ability should be only restricted to your data admin means data migration team or some specific users only, you can add that logic. For that you wouldn't have to modify it every places, you would just have to modify only one place. So that's why like for the end use the things would remain stable. So that's why we use facade. Are we going go yeah, and these are the same benefits, like it simplifies. I don't need to internally understand like how the trigger bypass logic is written. I will just focus on like I will write trigger bypass dot add, and then I will just add the class name. Simple. No need for me to understand the different things. Are we good? Or any questions? Yeah, it's clear. Okay, I'm taking it as a yes. And now, next is decorator. So this is an existing object, but you are able to attach new behaviors by wrapping it. So like Gangadhar is Shaktiman hai. So these are same persons, but with the decorator, it's becoming too much strong. Its behavior has changed. So same with decorator as well. Like you are able to attach new behaviors with that existing objects through the wrappers. Now, suppose you want to have a credit card validator. Otherwise, it could be used. You could end up being in some kind of fraud by some Lakshmi chit fund or some other things. So that's why like the payment companies actually have the validation in place. So initially you thought like when you were doing development, like what I will do is like I know it should be 16-digit. Let me just add that logic. Later juncture, you thought like what we should be doing it is like we need to add more validations. Like there's some algorithms that therein like the number should be something like it should follow a particular sequence. This is a algorithm like which is hard for me even to understand. But there are some standard algorithms that are there in which checks your credit card numbers. So that logic also later juncture I thought like I would implement. Expiry also I need to check. Sometimes the number might be correct, but it's expired. Now what do we do? So that's why like doing the implementation process, like what but I whenever I'm doing the development, I want like one version of it while I'm doing the development for others, it should be scalable, like it should not impact the existing one. So what I do is like first level I add the simple validator, second I add the other algorithmic validator, third one we have the expiry validator, and then I call the validate function. So here like I'm adding decorators part by part. Like first is the simple one, then there's a other validator for that algorithm. So basically my intent is like initially I started with my very basic validation, but because I had implemented this decorator pattern, I was able to expand it very easily to complex logics as well. So that is around your decorator design pattern. I hope it's clear.
Ankit, can you move to the next screen?
Which one? This one.
No, no, no. The code logic where it's written for new simple and expiry validator, how they have
Yeah, this one I guess.
no previous to this one. Just a
So
minute.
okay,
Let me read.
okay. It's very simple. Like
Okay,
what we
understood.
have done is like we have created like the instance of this card validator interface here, then calling it super means it is extended from the validator controller. Now this control will go back to your validator decorator, and there the things would be there in place.
Yes, you can move ahead.
Yeah, sure. Now let's deep down on strategy design pattern. So strategy is around your planning. Like if suppose there are multiple options, then you should be prepared for all of it. So that's why like you have to make foolproof planning. So that's why like we need to while writing the code we should have like multiple scenarios covered. What exactly is strategy pattern? Like at done run time, I want to define like which methodology or which way I should be following, what policy I should be applying. Like suppose I'm a customer, okay, I want to purchase a thing from e-commerce. What does it check? Whether I'm a retail customer, I'm a partner, or I'm a B2B business, means I'm a merchant. So multi, and accordingly it will give, Amazon gives me the discount. So internally it would have the logic, Amazon has written the logic like, yes, this way you will have to add the checks. So I have added that example in the slide as well. So like here the example is simple, like you have different discounting strategies for different customers. Regular will get 5, premium would get 10, wholesome customer would get 100 rupees off. So using strategy, what I do is like I create a normal. I know that discount strategy has to be implemented, and there should be a discount of particular amount. So what I do is like I wrote a method with apply discount. What, and I need to, I'm passing what is the original amount. Then I leave it open, like whatever discount strategy that the person wants to implement or whatever type it is, and then that should come up here and should get assigned here in this discount strategy. Then I would use in my final amount calculation, what I would take the method, whatever apply discount that is, then it should use their logic. So taking example of 1 minute. Okay, I think I missed mentioning the one few code lines. So basically what should happen is like here we'll have a separate class, premium customer discount, which should have the its own logic of apply discount. This separate regular customer discount would have a separate class where it should be implementing this discount strategy, and it would have their its own logic for apply discount. At runtime I am passing, if I will create an instance of discount context and creating the object and passing the parameter of that strategy, what I want to want, I would want, like suppose I could have a logic in place, like obviously it won't be like that much straightforward like new premium customer discount or something like that. It would be dynamic based on whatever how means this information would be coming up from the user table or somewhere where it's maintained based on the lifetime value or something like that, and accordingly this name would have to be of the class would be coming up. But the intent is like you have to create a separate class of premium customer discount, and you will have to write your own logic of apply discount. And here like based on different strategy you will be able to make the changes easily. It's dynamic enough that you write your own logic for apply discount, and you it won't get, you would be able to incorporate it very easily for any new type. I should have like checked, like I forgot to add the tech classes for this full some customer discount and all of those, but yeah, we'll take care in future. Yeah, in the parameter we are passing in this premium customer discount strategy, and then we are returning the supply discount. So in this premium customer discount, they will it will have its own definition of apply discount where you will be adding the logic. And similarly for the other wholesome as well, intent is simple, like you have a strategy defined and you pass it as a parameter in your constructor, and then you in your actual method you call the method which needs to be overridden. Simple. And you have a create another class which will be actual like where you will be passing the strategy instance. Next is why we use strategy. I can change the logic anytime I want. Suppose I receive a specific request like this person is not a retail customer, he is a big business owner as well. He has just taken it as a retail customer. Then accordingly, because I know like he is a very important person or is a business person, accordingly I would be able to swap the strategy for that person. So because my code is following the strategy pattern, it would be able to take the logic, change swap the logic at runtime. At runtime, I could decide like whether it should be a premium customer, it should be a regular customer. So that is, and suppose I want to like what a logic that is there, and like there could be multiple ways like the calculation could happen. So the logic would be decoupled. I know it's a little complicated, this strategy pattern. So if you have any questions, then we'll be happy to address them. Yeah, this call is being recorded. Sunny, can you just confirm this one? I will just go over this one, like last part when to use the strategy pattern, and the very last part, like does it even matter this design patterns in the AI era? Yes, it does matter, because like what AI would generate to you is the syntax, and it might not follow the best practices. So definitely in your prompts you would need to tell them like follow this design pattern or use this thing. So you will have to guide the AI accordingly, then only you will be able to get the advantage of AI with the following the best practices of the code. With that, like I come to like the second last slide. It's around any questions, any open questions. How to decide which design pattern to use? You will need to first know like how the things would have to. Uh, what is the problem that you're trying to address, or what could be the context? Like suppose whether this would have multiple implementation, or how much dynamic you would actually need it. So based on the problem, we'll have to decide like which design pattern will be best to use. Suppose I know like there could be multiple implementation of the same thing, then obviously I would go with strategy. If suppose I know I have to create like logging service or something like that, I would obviously go with Singleton. If suppose I am utilizing like for the triggers like bypass, I'm implementing it custom, then I would obviously use the facade and keep the logic abstracted. So depending upon the scenario, the things would work. I hope that answers. Any other questions? Final questions?
Yeah, hi Ankit. So I just want to ask, like in a small organization, is it fine to write normal Apex code, or it's depend on organization also? Some organization are following some framework like Flip framework or any design pattern, but somehow are not following those framework. They are want to write simple Apex code.
See, in your organization, like, see, there are two aspects of this. First is like whether you want to improve, like, you're writing the code, that's fine. And suppose you want, like, you want to write it a simple code only. See, simplicity in the end, what matters is like, oh, you will scale. Like, if you're looking for immediate gains, like in terms of like, if I'm writing simple logic or simple code, it is easy for me. It saves me time. But at a long run, you would scale means you would also upgrade yourself, and you would also become a lead. And at that time, like if you don't get the practice, or you would not be able to get the mindset of what are you missing out, you would not be, it means if suppose you would feel annoyed, like if suppose other people would also for the simple code, you give them a simple change to make, and they would spend too much time on that. At that time, like you would be able to realize those things. So it's better like you learn it from now. And obviously it would be like initially it would be a little bit time taking, but once you understand the things, it would obviously become simple.
Yeah, that's correct. But as a developer, if I want to write that framework and I want to write the coding framework, but somehow customer is not ready for that. They are saying that we are a small customers, we have a small organization, so we don't want to use any framework in those things. In that case,
See,
we need to follow the customer. Yes.
See, like they are following, asking like if it is not being, it is not paid, then I think customer should not be concerned.
Yeah,
Even
something like that.
they should means whether you are utilizing the framework or not, that is the internal thing. What matters to the customer is like the functionality is working fine or not, and how much is the development time that is required. I think that should be the pain points from the customer side. Whether you're following it through the best practices or you're following it a normal way, that shouldn't be that your code reviewer or like the architect or like from the customer side, who is the CTO or whoever is the person in charge of that, the code quality, they should be concerned. That is
Yeah.
my take. If suppose you are able to write the code and you are not missing any timelines, so everything, then I think they should be fine. You should try to tell them like, suppose we don't follow the things, and then if your requirement changes in, then it would become difficult for us to incorporate the changes. Then we would be again have to spend much time. You tell them like, if we follow this one, then in future, like if any modification comes, it would be very quick fix for us. Suppose we don't follow the right things right now, then it would become difficult for us to modify it. You explain them and try to address the pain points.
Yeah, that's correct, Ankit. And one more thing, Ankit, like, is it fine if we use open source framework in Salesforce, or do we need to tell client, like, can we use paid framework or open source framework?
See, it depends. Open source frameworks like as well means if it is unmanaged, like people are okay to use it. To people means many frameworks are there in like Nebula Logger, which people have adopted it tremendously, and there are some others as well. So they should be fine. But again, like your client take is very much important. You tell them like what client might be concerned of is like whether it's paid or whether they have to install it some package, or that might raise a security concern. But if suppose it's an unmanaged package, then I think they should be good. You will have to consult with your client like whether they are open. If you want to check if it is dynamically in Apex, whether we can use this design pattern. It's already implementing the design patterns, Monica. Like when you do the field describe and then you apply the check. Even there is actually, yeah, if Apex, the SQL is there in which checks like whether the particular profile has the FLS of that object or not. And my take is like, suppose you want to check the FLS, like why don't you use the with security enforced? That would be the best bet on that.
Okay, and like, if you heard about the Philip framework, the financial force framework.
FF Lab. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So,
Financial force. Yeah.
yeah, so Salesforce is suggesting that to use the Philip framework. So that one we can directly use, or do we need to discussion with the client? Like, can we use the Philip framework, or we can directly use
Uh,
from outside?
See, we don't go ahead using that, but you will have to check with them like whether they are okay with that or not. First, make a list of the things, the advantages that you will be getting in, and then tell them like what will be the impact for them. See, they are concerned only about the time and how much difficult it should might become for them to maintain it. If you are able to address them on these 2 points, I think they should be good. So you will have to prepare a list of the like advantages and what could be the impacts. If you communicate to them clearly, I think they should be good. But my personal take is like, don't go ahead with using something without knowing them.
Yeah, sure, Ankit.
Yeah. Mm, any more questions, or are we good? I think it's a wrap, and feel please share your feedback so we know what are the shortcomings and what are the things like which we can do to improve your experience for the session. Sunny, would you want to say some final words? Sunny, you're on mute, I guess. Sunny, you're on mute. I will just call him, I think. I think that's all we had. I think Sunny is occupied in some other things, I guess.
Ankit, I have a question. Okay. So, can
Yeah,
you
sure.
share how you started developing using these frameworks? Like, what approaches did you find? Because logically, we have some requirement. We develop. We have a time crunch. Okay, so we write this method and we utilize this. We don't focus now. This method has to be either we make use it in utility class or it's a normal method. So, when to
See,
use framework? How you take a call of this?
the way I look at it is too many. There are some guidelines if it is too many parameters, either use a wrapper or
Hmm.
you go with a builder pattern. Simple. Like what problems we face, based on that, I take a call.
Okay.
Suppose I am written a code and there are multiple parameters that are coming in. Even during the code review process, if I see the developers passing multiple parameters, I tell them like don't go with that. Either use a wrapper, will do the binding, or we will create a builder method and then set the values specifically. Or suppose singleton if we see a particular record being queried multiple places across, then what we do is like we create query that record at the top and then we check like whether that is null or not. Obviously like we see the huge means before means in the first go of the writing the code, many of the things we don't know. Over the time like we figure out like this is becoming like what we call is technical debt. So
Mhm.
over the time you realize it and then you try to fix it. It's like a post-mortem, but few things that you can make sure like that you're doing it like through using trigger frameworks or following the best practices around having the creation part or SOC, like separation of concern. Few of the things you can do beforehand, but few things later at later point you would be able to know. So that is my call. When I started my journey, like I was lucky enough to get to good mentors. And the reason for that is like from the client side as well, they were very strict around the code review. They had Clayton as well as there was a manual review as well.
Okay.
So whenever we choose multiple parameters, it would give a warning in the PR itself, a pull request,
Yeah,
and
we
they would not
get,
merge.
we get the warning, but what I use is I use map. So because a single map can have multiple parameters, right? So
Correct, correct, correct. Even map is good. Wrapper is also good. So in the end, it what it matters. Like, see, what we are trying to address is like that logic should be simplified enough, like for future. It
Mhm.
shouldn't happen like if any modification come, it becomes difficult for us to maintain. That is my call. See, there are various ways of doing the things. What we need to focus towards is like what is the goal that we are trying to achieve. Our goal is like effort is less, impact is more, code is scalable. Any changes comes, I'm able to make that changes quickly. That is the goal, right?
in that respect, I have one more question. So we get PMD for number of lines. Okay, if we get too
Correct.
much of
Yeah.
lines, so what I
Yeah.
do is I use a static variable because I have to use the same variable in another method. But I don't think
Correct.
it's a good thing now because it increases the heap size because suppose it is a map, it contains 20 key value pairs. then it is huge. So using a static variable is not recommended in that case. Na? So what you would do in that scenario?
See, 20 keys, not a big deal. This is not like a problem for heap size. It should be good enough. See, you have like for normal synchronous Apex, I think it's 6 MB.
Hmm.
For asynchronous, it is around 12 MB. So for the small things, it's fine. Also, there could be another way, like you could be passing. You can be, means my recommended approach in that would be you also use org cache. If suppose that variable is used multiple places and it's not being modified, it's only read that you're doing in, you can put query that in value once and put it in cache and then fetch from the cache. If it is present, use that, otherwise fetch it again. What do you say?
Actually, I don't have idea about this. I have to read about this. But I've noted.
Org cache is another functionality that you can utilize the org cache, like how you have the cache memory, same thing. Like in the browser, sometimes we say like it's showing the cache results only.
Correct, correct.
So and the org also you can have that configured, and you can store the reuse means repeated queries or repeated things in there.
Hmm. And one more thing. Sorry, I'm taking too much of your time.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
So in case, mostly what I do is I return map because I have to
I
return
agree.
many
I
things.
also used to do that same. Like
Ah,
it's become easy for us to know whether like it's a success or a failure, and if it's success, what message to show. If it's error, what error message to show. Something like that, right?
yes, yes. So is it good or there is any alternative you can suggest?
See, what you can also do is like suppose it's a normal method, and I can means if I have to do this, I can also return the wrapper as well, right? Instead of using a map.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can have a key and a value, and then I can pass in multiple things. Like suppose in future, like any new thing comes up, I can have like a whatever I'm having in the map, like a key value, I can create a wrapper, like a result wrapper, something. I can have two variables in there, string key and string value, and then return instance of that, or I can create return list of that. So that
Wrapper is
way,
good because then I can reuse it in multiple methods. Correct.
correct, yeah. Map you won't be able to reuse, yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Ankit.
Yeah, not a problem. Yes, any final words from you?
No, nothing. Everything good. Okay, session was like wonderful as usual. Okay, and thank you so much, guys. It's a big number, 45 plus today. So thank you so much, guys, for all the attendee, and special thank to you, Ankit.
Yeah,
Okay,
not a
for your
problem.
sessions. Okay, so we will arrange another session on the architect topic. Okay, like we can arrange session on architect topic like journey, how to start journey, how to like divert journey from developer to consultant and consultant to architect. Okay, so something we will plan. Okay, but now
Yes.
for now we can enjoy our weekend. So thank you so much for your time,
Yeah.
for your effort. Thank you, bye bye.
Yeah. Bye. Like some members were concerned around the recording. I think it's already recorded, right?
Yeah, it's recording going on by one of my team members, so we will share soon.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. In case like if the questions are unanswered, you can ping me on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So and please share. Like again, I would be sharing the screen, and you can tag us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and so that the noise spreads across, and let Gorakhpur Developer Group also shine in the social media.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
yeah,
Bye guys. Have a
yeah,
nice
bye.
day.
Yeah, thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. So we all got the like any candid feedback or anything, any like you can share. Like I think there would be a form that Sunny would be circulating for like how did the event go, so you can provide your valuable suggestions in there. So we'll see like what are the shortcomings and we'll try to address if anything's therein or what we can make it to suit it better for the audience. Okay. Okay then. Thanks all.